Welcome to SVG-TV News for Wednesday, November 19th, 2014. I am Jennifer Richardson with the details. SVG's economy has seen modest growth in 2014 despite many challenges over the years. This, according to a report from the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, which was presented at a media conference here last evening. Delivering the findings, IMF advisor for the Western Hemisphere, Eli Canetti, said the country faced not only the December 2013 floods, but two very serious hurricanes in the last 3 years, which shows that there has been difficult challenges in keeping the budget together. Canetti noted that they have advised the government to put a medium-term plan in place so that the country's debt situation can be turned around.
A dire situation here. There are other countries in the Caribbean where we have much greater concerns, but here the debt at the moment looks manageable, and so it's important that actions be put in place to make sure that the debt level, measured as a percent of the economy, eventually comes down over the medium term. The situation here, we think, is in some sense not as bad also, or not as much of an obstacle to growth as elsewhere. We are, I think, pleased to say that what we would say the pricing regime here is conducive to things like conservation, so we don't think that a lot of energy is being wasted because energy is priced too cheaply. That is a problem in many countries around the world where they provide very heavy energy subsidies, which of course are popular for consumers, but ultimately lead to overconsumption and the problems associated with that. And we also think that the VINLAC, which is the electricity utility here, as you all know, seems to be fairly well run. Their plant and equipment is fairly modern. So in terms of what can be done about the cost of energy, I think we're in agreement with the government. I think you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the best path forward is to be looking into various forms of renewable energy.
Meanwhile, the IMF advisor says they have seen a lot of positive signs for the Argyle International Airport. He noted that a new airport generally impacts positively on small economies that depend on tourism.
We are also trying to understand what the tourism strategy is more generally, and I think a key element that we're looking for is to see if once investors can see that the airport is really nearing completion, will we get a lot of investment in things like hotels, tourism operators, and also having airlines come to take advantage of the new airport. And so it's a little bit early in that regard to make an assessment, but having spoken with a number of groups involved with tourism, both on the private sector and the public sector, I think we feel good that there is going to be considerable interest in St. Vincent and the Grenadines once the airport opens. So we're looking for there to be a reasonably substantial pickup in growth, probably starting in 2016.
Responding to the report, Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves says he is pleased that the IMF has found that despite all the challenges, the country was able to record modest growth. Dr. Gonsalves said he believes the report is an assessment which will resonate with Vincentians.
The third matter, which I think that the people of St. Vincent and Grenadines would be happy about and pleased about, and where you said that we are not on the fiscal side anywhere near an unmanageable situation, that you said that the debt situation is manageable, but we have to be very careful because we have to make sure that we have a proper debt management strategy over the next 5 years, which indeed we do have on an ongoing basis, and we update it all the time.
He further thanked the IMF representatives for their comments on renewable energy, particularly in geothermal, which he says is potentially a game changer for SVG.
I want to thank you for your kind words about what we have been doing, the condition in which we are, despite all our challenges and difficulties, that we are holding our own and things are manageable and we are moving forward.
On the topic of energy, Vincentians are being given the assurance that the process towards geothermal energy has been progressing smoothly. Speaking at this week's opening of CARICOM Energy Week, Chair of the St. Vincent Electricity Services Limited VINLAC, René Batiste, says they are doing the necessary scientific analysis and work before persons can see the switching on of geothermal in SVG.
Again, expectations are high. There are several persons who asked me over the last few months how soon we will get geothermal energy. So I told them that to keep following our newsletters, and they will see that it is between about 5 years or so because of the amount of technical work that has to be done. But when you use terms as technical work, there are some persons who translate that to mean we're going slow.
Prime Minister Dr. Rav Gonsalves will be attending a Petrocaribe meeting in Caracas, Venezuela tomorrow. At yesterday's media conference, Dr. Gonsalves says the meeting is meant to reaffirm the Petrocaribe commitment and also to deepen the integration process within its framework.
There are other dimensions. It's the matter of, and we haven't been able to do this successfully, to pay for some of the fuel through exports to Venezuela in goods and services. In the case of goods, because of the transportation issue. Some other countries like Nicaragua has done fairly well with that. And I think Jamaica has done a little with that. But I'm sure that all of those questions would be discussed on Thursday, and when I return I will report as to whether there are any changes.
Coming up, HLDC chairman assures Green Hill Housing Project homeowners they will get their houses by year end. More stories on the local scene when SVG-TV News continues. Don't go away. While there has been much discussion surrounding the late delivery of some 17 houses at Green Hill by the Housing and Lands Development Corporation, the HLDC, the management says it is confident that the majority of the houses will be delivered to homeowners by year end. Chairman of the HLDC, Beresford Phillips, today told SVG-TV News that there are some outstanding issues confronting the Green Hill housing site, but explains that the HLDC is now working overtime to bring things under control. Phillips adds that one major issue is their inability to have pipe-borne water on the site by year end. The HLDC chairman explains that when they learned that the CWSA will not be able to provide water to the homes before January 15, 2015, a meeting was held with the homeowners to inform them of the further delay. Phillips says the possibility was then explored for the installation of water tanks at the homes as a temporary solution.
Indicated to them that we will explore the possibility of purchasing water tanks, and we will talk to CWSA to see how possible it is to have the CWSA trucks supply the water in those tanks for individuals who are prepared to move into their homes once their homes were completed by the end of this year. And we felt that generally there was an agreement. I was rather surprised to hear and to read in the print media that we were blaming the CWSA. We were using them as a scapegoat for not being able to deliver the homes. That is totally not the case as far as I am aware. We are still committed towards delivering the homes, and we are working very, very hard.
The HLDC chairman says in an effort to help alleviate the financial strain currently being faced by the homeowners, the HLDC has approached two financial institutions here seeking a suspension on the interest payments on their mortgages until the houses are delivered, particularly for the homeowners who are now paying rent and are also expected to service their loans.
The management of the St. Vincent Cooperative Bank, and we met with the management of Bank of St. Vincent. The bank was very optimistic. Quite naturally, I suppose that their discussions on the matter must go to another level. But we got the impression that the bank will be willing to accede to our request to grant a suspension on mortgage payments.
Meanwhile, Philip says the HLDC is also considering the option of offering some form of compensation to the homeowners for the prolonged delay and inconvenience.
Show that these homes are delivered. I'm going to ensure that the financial burden brought on them as a result of the delays caused by the HLDC, that we look after them in some way, whether by asking the bank, as we have done, to grant a suspension, or in some cases, and I don't want to make a definite promise on this one, but in some cases where it is extreme, we may want to offer some level of compensation for the delay. We will sit and negotiate the terms of any such compensation.
SVG-TV visited the Green Hill Housing Project to observe the work done thus far. According to the HLDC chairman, the majority of the houses is more than 95% completed and will be delivered to the homeowners by year end.
As you would observe, the kitchen cupboards are in. The ceiling is already intact. Cupboards are in the rooms. What remains here to make the house complete, basically, is the tiling and the fixtures for the bathroom. And basically, the house is finished.
After several calls for better roads in the central Kingstown area with threats of strike actions, the situation has been resolved. Minister of State in the Ministry of Transport and Works, Julian Francis, told SVG-TV News that the majority of the roadworks in the area has been completed. Francis says while Braxa has informed him that they have taken the decision to pull out the gangs from the area, he is not happy that work was not done in some specific locations.
I met Mr. Aline, who is the manager of infrastructure, and one of the engineers driving through the constituency, and I said to them, but what about the area between Sharps Plainfield and down by Giddy Brown's Hardware? There are a lot of potholes in that area and I don't see any being cut out. He said, well, they're driving through now, so they'll do that assessment and continue. But I will insist that they get that piece done, because that's the last piece that's really left to be done. And there's a big pothole in front of the community center going across the flat above Daniel Cummins. I want to take that out as well. So I'm pretty happy. They've overlaid a lot of the areas, especially going up in Trigger Hill. I think the van men, maybe you should do an interview with the van men and get their response to it. But they've done a fairly good job. And I think that the van owners and the passengers are pretty happy.
St. Vincent and the Grenadines today joins over 60 countries to observe International Men's Day with a rally currently taking place at the P.T. Bordell Hard Court. Minister of National Mobilization and Gender Affairs, Frederick Stevenson, says the event is to give recognition to the valuable contributions of some men here.
The main objectives of celebrating International Men's Day are: 1, to focus especially on men and boys' health; 2, to improve gender relations; 3, to promote gender equality; and 4, to highlight males as positive role models. The theme for 2014 is working together for men and boys. It must be noted that men make sacrifices every day at their place of work, in their roles as husbands and fathers, for their families, friends, their communities, and for their nations. So it must be understood that men everywhere should be appreciated, complimented, and celebrated for the contributions they make to the society for the greater good of all.
Stevenson says men need to understand that their role in society is very important, especially as fathers.
On this day, I want to remind us men to be serious about our health and the issues affecting men's health. hypertension, diabetes, sexually transmitted infections including HIV, AIDS, among others. The same way we take our wives, our girlfriends, and our children to the doctor for their usual checkups, we ought to do the same. It is high time that men see about their own health.
Females of all ages will have another opportunity to learn from the experiences of others at a two-day women's conference to be held here in April next year. Karen Hines, founder and CEO of Workplace Success Group, whose company is facilitating the phenomenal women's conferences, says the upcoming event is an opportunity for women to share their stories and to learn from each other's experiences and successes.
So it's not just about their career, it's not just about how do they live better personally, but it's a combination that will make them more effective, and in that process they're able to be better citizens, better neighbors, better employees, and everything that goes along with building a healthy community. And it's going to be happening on April 10th and 11th. Of course, I hope by now you know we're doing two conferences in one. On Friday we host a half-day session for young ladies 13 through 17, and we want to make sure that we're preparing the next generation with the tools that they will need to be successful. So yes, we're addressing the women on Saturday, but we want to make sure we get to the young ladies as well. So Friday, make sure your teen girls 13 through 17 are in attendance. We're going to be using Russell Auditorium and the two cinemas that are in that facility so we can host an extraordinary event. Our theme this year is unlocking the secrets to powerful, profitable, and personal relationships.
Hines says the conference will also seek to equip the women who will be attending the event with the tools needed to better sustain a personal and professional life.
And it's important for us as women when we get together to look at what can we do to be really powerful, what can we do to build the kind of relationships that we can benefit from, not only in our getting but in our giving as well. So sharing our expertise, sharing what we've learned, and of course learning different ways in which we can make money, but also to look at ways in which we can be personal. How can we really put our best